Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Stencil Saturday design. So this week we're going to do a design. So one of my favorite things I think about stencils is that you have so many options with them. If you remember in last week's design, we actually did, I marked the stencil and we stitched all of the lines of the actual stencil, and then we added some echoes inside. But just because you're using a stencil does not mean that we have to stitch all of these lines. And so this week's design is going to be all freehand, and we are not actually going to stitch any of these lines in the stencil. What we're going to do instead is we're just going to use these as boundaries, and then we're going to add spiral quilting to each one of these shapes. So the nice thing about this is it's not, too precise. You don't need to worry too terribly much about the lines because we're using them as a boundary. So if we, go over the line or we're not quite to the line, it's okay because those lines are going to disappear. They really were just a guideline to kind of help us know where we're going to quilt our designs. So I'm going to go ahead and get started up here in the left corner. You could start anywhere you like. And what we're going to do, I'm just going to start kind of off the edge here. Get this. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this basic shape, and I'm going to quilt a spiral to fill this tumbler shape. Okay. And I'm not, if you really wanted to, you could use a ruler if you really wanted them to be precise, but I prefer really a little more kind of organic look to it. I'm not even trying to keep them any exact spacing. I may do some of these more narrow spiral, kind of echoes. I may do some wider. It really doesn't matter because in the end, if you were using this, let's say as a background design, once you have it everywhere, overall, it's going to be fine. No one's going to notice the little inconsistencies. So let's get started. And like I said, I'm just going to use this kind of as a guide so I know where to put my spiral. And I'm just going to follow that shape. And I like to have kind of little rounded corners. You certainly could do sharp ones if you wanted. And you can space these however you like. Maybe you want a looser quilting, you can just do them farther apart. And again, one other thing. So I am going to come into the middle here, and when I get done, which I'm done, I'm going to shoot right out of here into the next one. Actually, I think I'm going to come down here. It doesn't really matter what you do. Maybe, yeah, I am. I'm going to come down to this next one. I'm just going to come right out of the center. If you're not a fan of that look, where you go into the center and then just shoot out of the center into another shape, you can certainly echo back the whole way back out. Personally, I'm just fine with coming right out of the center, and that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to come down to this one, and now I'm just going to do another one. Again, using this shape, just so I know where to put my spiral. Kind of don't always want to come out the same place. So the one above it came out kind of on the right hand side. So this one I'm going to come out on the left and down into this one. It goes pretty fast, and these really are pretty close together. You could definitely space them differently. And I'm going to shoot right out of that one over to this next one. And you can travel way around the area any way you like. You don't have to necessarily go the way I did. You might decide to do one to the right and then go up. And I'm going to go right up here and start the next one. this one. So now this one, I'm going to make sure that I kind of have room, just kind of by eye, that I can go out to the right into the next one, right over here, and do this row. I really love this design. I mean, I think it's really easy to execute. It's easy to do. Doesn't have to be real precise. And overall, it looks really cool. You could really even do this as an all over. Right down into this next one. I'm going to go right out to here. Now, if I were doing this as an all over, of course, then I would have more. I would just continue, continue, continue. But even if you're doing it, you know, as like a background or an all over, whatever, and you're going to end up probably with these little oddball spaces up here at some point, whether it's the end or, you know, in this case, we could pretend, let's say this was a border and I put this in this border. But where it hits the border, you have these spaces. So usually what I'll do is do that at the end and just kind of, pretend. I mean, we can kind of envision that if this was a spiral, you would only be seeing this little part. So I would probably do this and just kind of give it a couple of echoes. Scoot over to this one. Give it a couple echoes here. And it kind of makes it all blend together. And like here, I might not even do the side. And that makes it all blend together. Come down here real quick and do the bottom. Oops. And of course, you know, if it were a border, you could have done these as you went. One in here. And that would fill those awkward little leftover kind of corners of the other design. So I think, you know, it's really fun to do. It's easy. And overall, it's a very cool, the texture is really awesome. Let me turn off my one light here and see if we can see the texture a little bit better. Yeah, not really. But you'll be able to see it in the picture. So I hope you enjoyed that design and maybe you'll give it a try. Oh, before we go, one other thing. Let's say, I mean, these are small and I did them fairly close, the spacing. You could do them much tighter if you wanted. And one option, if you decided to do it, let's say as a background fill. And if you, for example, filled this in tighter than I did, what you can do that's really kind of cool is when you get to the center here, if you do it really nice and tight, you can kind of leave maybe this whole portion open. So this becomes tight and these are raised up before you go out to the next one. So you kind of get these raised up little puffs in the center that are kind of neat. And another thing too, if you were going to mark this, let's say you had a huge area and you were going to use it as more of an all over. Instead of doing these tiny little tumblers, what you could do is perhaps choose to do this whole shape as one before moving on. Or, one other option would also be to do, maybe you do two small ones like this, and to change it up and give it a little more interest, do these two smaller ones, and then do one as one whole shape, and then two small, and kind of alternate here and there throughout your design. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed the design and have a good day.